The hearing that silenced a senator. When truth met power. Picture this. A packed Senate hearing room. Cameras rolling. The entire nation watching. And one question so devastating it would silence one of the most vocal senators in America. This is the story of the day Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett walked into that chamber with a folder full of death certificates and absolutely destroyed the pharmaceutical industry's biggest offender. The setup, the hearing was supposed to be routine. Another boring discussion about prescription drug pricing. But the moment Senator Rand Paul stepped into that room, you could feel the tension. This wasn't just any senator. This was a former doctor turned libertarian firebrand who'd made it his mission to defend Big Pharma at every turn. Paul took his seat, adjusted his microphone like a surgeon preparing a scalpel, and delivered his opening line without hesitation. Healthcare is not a constitutional right. It's a commodity, like a car, a house, or a gym membership. If you want it, you pay for it. Gasps echoed through the gallery. A woman gripped her inhaler. Someone whispered, "He just priced life." But Paul's face never flinched. He wasn't here to empathize. He was here to control the narrative. Then everything changed. Entered Jasmine Crockett. A second door opened, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett entered like a shadow forged from fire. Dressed in an obsidian black suit, she carried a thick dossier bulging with color-coded tabs and red underlines. This wasn't just paperwork. This was a war manual. She didn't smile, didn't nod. She simply walked to her seat across from Paul and placed that folder on the table, like it weighed 1,000 lives. The cameras turned instantly, drawn to her like gravity. The first strike. Without raising her voice, Crockett opened her folder and spoke with quiet devastation. "I won't be speaking about policy today. I want to speak about a mother." She let that sink in. Maria Gutierrez, 37 years old. Dallas, Texas. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at night, cashiering at a gas station by day. She had no insurance. She rationed her insulin to feed her children. 3 weeks later, she was dead. The room didn't just get quiet. It sank. This wasn't theory. This was a woman who died not because medicine didn't exist, but because a system decided she wasn't profitable enough to save. Then Crockett clicked a remote. A screen behind her lit up with stark white lettering. Cost to manufacture 1 vial of insulin. $3. She clicked again. Average price charged to Americans, $340. The shift was biological. People leaned back as if the numbers could strike them. A staffer dropped her phone. Someone whispered, "Jesus Christ." The math had committed the crime before anyone could defend it. Crockett turned to face Rand Paul directly, her voice soft but devastating. "So I ask you, Dr. Paul, exactly how much is a life worth in this country?" Paul fights back. But Rand Paul didn't become a senator by staying quiet. He leaned into his microphone like a man sharpening a blade. "This is exactly the kind of emotional grandstanding that distorts serious debate," he said, his voice cold and calculated. "Representative Crockett isn't here to talk about real solutions. She's here to weaponize sympathy." He pressed forward with surgical precision. "What she won't tell you is that in places like Canada, people wait 6 months for a diagnosis. People wait to die. I performed surgeries on patients who came here from those systems, patients their governments left behind. Then came his doctrine, delivered like a gavel in a courtroom where empathy had been dismissed. Healthcare is not a right. It's a good, and good things aren't handed out for free. They're earned." He smiled, not with confidence, but with condescension. The grin of a man who believed he'd just scored a point in a debate, even if it came at the cost of human dignity. The knockout punch. Crockett didn't flinch. She reached under the table with the reverence of someone retrieving a folded flag at a military funeral. What she pulled out was a worn sheet of brown craft paper, creased and heavy. She unfolded it slowly, revealing a banner that stretched across her entire station. Dense columns of black ink. Names, ages, locations, dates. This wasn't research. This was a list of the dead. Without looking up, she began to read. Carlos Ramirez, 52, San Antonio. Ayanna Fields, 28, Dallas. Jacob Nguyen, 34, Houston. For 45 straight seconds, she read name after name, each one a full life reduced to a line. The voice that had argued law and exposed corruption was now a eulogy, not for one person, but for hundreds. By the 10th name, the energy shifted completely. An aide dropped her pen. A reporter stared at the floor. The mother in the gallery covered her mouth, gripping her son's photo. Crockett stopped reading and looked up. That's just a fraction from one state in 1 year. Texas alone, 2,412 names. Each one a wound, each one a failure. The final revelation. But she wasn't done. With another click, the screen displayed something that would end Paul's credibility forever. Pharmaceutical industry contributions to Senator Rand Paul, 2013 to 2023, for $1,300,000. The room went still, not with mourning this time, but with recognition. The math they never wanted to do was right there in red numbers. Then came the leaked video, shaky phone footage from a closed healthcare summit. There was Rand Paul at a podium, surrounded by pharmaceutical executives, saying with complete confidence, "We need to protect the freedom to price pharmaceuticals." Light applause, nods, a soft chuckle from someone off-screen. Crockett let the clip freeze on Paul's face and turned to him with surgical precision. "You can talk about freedom, but how much freedom is left when a doctor works for the drug dealers?" The sentence didn't echo, it detonated. The breakdown. Paul shot to his feet, his chair screeching against marble. "I have dedicated my entire life to medicine," he shouted, his voice cracking. "You have no right, no standing, to lecture me on morality." His finger rose, shaking with indignation. This wasn't debate anymore. This was collapse. But Crockett didn't flinch. She didn't rise. She didn't even shift in her seat. While Paul towered over the room, voice booming, she sat completely still like a monument that could not be moved. Only when it emptied every syllable into the air did she speak, her voice low and impossibly sharp. "I'm not lecturing on morality. I'm asking one question. Who saves a patient when the doctor chooses stocks over survival?" The silence that followed wasn't pause. It was a verdict. The aftermath. Within hours, the clip went viral. 42 million views across platforms. Hashtag health is a human right trending worldwide. Medical students organized open letters. Doctors wrote publicly about feeling ashamed of Paul's representation of their profession. The question Crockett asked didn't just belong to Rand Paul. It belonged to every leader who let children die over insulin prices, every executive who approved price hikes for shareholder profit, and every voter who believed the free market meant freedom from responsibility. A week later, Crockett introduced the Insulin for All Act, legislation to cap essential life-saving drugs at their production costs plus 10%. No more $340 vials made for $3. No more choosing between eating and breathing. The challenge, as the story spread, Crockett didn't ask to be applauded. She demanded to be joined. Because while politicians debate, people die. Every day that bill sits unsigned, another family loses someone they were never supposed to bury. Her final words echo still. "We cannot call ourselves civilized if we let people die because they can't afford to live. That is not freedom. That is surrender." The question remains, will we fight with her, or will we surrender too? Because in the end, this isn't just about insulin. It's about what a nation permits in silence. And silence, as Jasmine Crockett proved that day, can be the deadliest prescription of all.